everyone, and I hope you are doing all right at home. Thanks for taking part in the more recent back bends flow, the whole wheel situation, and the previous twists lecture. So this was kind of a follow-up on a follow-up on a follow-up. I wanted to address some of the neck and chest, mostly neck and shoulder, I should say, tension that you felt in some of those deeper demanding back bends, and for some of you even in that shoulder warm-up. So I'd like to answer to my best ability a few questions about that. I'll try to keep this short-ish, but we are going to move a little bit. What I need you to have, if you happen to have a small-ish foam roller like this, bring that close to your mat. If you don't have something like that, you could just roll up your mat when it comes time to use it. We're not going to use it for physically rolling or massage therapy. We're just going to use it to prop up the thoracic spine. So if you have one of these, you can pause the video and go find it. If you don't, I may even show it with a rolled mat. So you can roll a thick yoga mat and or a beach towel, just something that will eventually prop up your thoracic spine, which you're becoming so acquainted with. And also have probably out in front of you, and if not, have a quick look at it throughout the video, your green Ray Long book. So go ahead and find those items and roll out your mat or find a place where you can comfortably sit and eventually lie on the floor in your home. Have your green Muscles of Yoga book, Key Muscles of Yoga, have that open to page 144. So crank it open to page 144. We will look at the chest muscles, but before we even do that, before I give you any demands on opening your chest and playing with the collarbone level of the body, let's do some really simple movements to warm up. So again, have your book open to page 144. You could be kneeling or cross-legged seat, but I'll just get you to, without moving your hips or your chest, move your arms a bit. So almost reach like you're going to put on your seat belt. So I'll use my right hand to tap my left shoulder, so a little bit of horizontal range of motion. Fingers resting onto the opposite shoulder or even kind of bending a little bit. And then poke your elbow, your bent pokey elbow, poke it towards me, and you'll kind of feel likely a gappiness or a movement in the shoulder blade. So we're just going to stretch the tissue almost like a more refined version of the eagle type stretches that we do for our arms. So yeah, I'll be fancy. Let's kind of jazz the elbow off of the body, and you can reach out lazily and drop down. Switch sides. So almost that seatbelt reach cross body, your pointy elbow sticking out from your chest. Now with a light hand grip on your opposing shoulder, again, move, or translate would be a good word, sort of present your bent pokey elbow forward. Then you kind of Janet Jackson the elbow out. You can straighten the arm, pop it down. I'll speak through a couple more and then you'll just flow. Reach for your opposing shoulder. Your hand has a little bit of grip once it arrives to its full range of motion. Send your elbow forward in space towards your phone or your screen. And then Janet Jackson your elbow out. You can cut the arm straight, drop down. Other side, so reach as if you're grabbing for your shoulder strap, your seat belt in your car. Jam the elbow forward, maybe feeling your shoulder blade widen on your back a bit. Poke the elbow out to the side horizontally. You can flick the arm straight, pop down, and then just kind of playfully move through that. You can pick up the pace. So it's okay if it's subtle, if you don't feel a whole lot. We're just kind of doing a bit of an express warm-up before we work our way into discovering muscles that we want to stretch today. So bop, bop. Keep it going. Keep it going. a bit of a coordination, which is nice. Good for the brain. Okay, pause. Your right arm, same thing, but I'll just speak it one more time. Reach for your seatbelt. Set your elbow to the screen. Horizon the elbow. Stick your arm out straight. Drop down. So reach as if to put on the seatbelt. Elbow forward. Elbow to the side. Straight arm down. So find that a few more times quickly. Alright, and then relax. Similar-ish, but that was all on your horizontal plane. Now we'll go a little bit more on a vertical plane. Bring your thumbs to your shoulders. So this won't be super muscular. May give you some flashbacks to the warm-up that we did with wheel, but more like skiing, more like the last exercise, more range of motion. So with the elbows in their deep bend, let the shoulder heads kind of dunk forward towards the screen. So you're not moving your chest, you're moving your arm bones. And then squeeze the elbows straight. So a bit of a pull back like you would do if you were skiing, trying to propel yourself forwards. And then bend the elbows again. And then push the elbows towards the screen. Let the elbows go beside you, behind you. Straight arms. Bent arms, elbows forward and up. Elbows down and back, arms straight. Arms bent, elbows forward and up. Elbows down and back, arms straight. And then keep going through that. Maybe speeding it up once you feel the coordination. And two more. Alright, then you can just rest your arms. So that was just intended to be a little bit of range of motion for you. The shoulders are circular and more mobile than the hips. The hip ball and socket is a little bit more locked in. It's the femur or the head of the long upper leg bone is kind of like locked or jammed into the joint surface of the pelvis, where in the case of the shoulder, the joint surface, the socket, is about half the size, so it's more of like a half kind of half moon shape. So that allows a lot more movement of the arms, and you can tell anyway. Partly there's like a bulk difference between the upper and lower, but there's a lot more variety in the way that arms can move. They can move side to side, forward and up, full circles in so many directions. And arms, on sort of a darker note, shoulders tend to dislocate a lot more than hips do. So it's good to have healthy shoulders. But yeah, they are more vulnerable, more mobile. So you want to have a handle on how to move them, how to keep them healthy. Then let's look directly at two muscular structures which are presented in your book that may be on the floor in front of you, your pec major and your pec minor. So when you refer to your pecs, your chest, what you're referring to is your pec major, the big one. Just like you have a glute max and a glute med, you have a pectoralis major and a pectoralis minor. But what you see, just like in the flesh, when you're looking at someone and you see the definition of your chest, you're looking at the definition of their pectoralis major. So pec major has an effect on the arm bones, so it actually moves the arms cross body. If you pull your arms up to a plank shape, And then squeeze your thumbs towards one another, which is a very fancy term, but it's called a horizontal adduction. So you're bringing the thumbs towards midline. Do that a few times, and you can be exaggerated in allowing your chest to be the muscle that pumps when your thumbs move together. Pull both thumbs together and pump your chest. So your middle back probably feels wide and spread out. You want some density, some squeeze in your chest like you would have for a push-up. Your pec major is a huge push-up muscle. Holds you really nicely in your plank pose. Leave your left fingers reaching towards me. And then just use your right hand to grab onto your left chest. And all of the bulk shouldn't be terribly sensitive, but all of the bulk that you feel, it's almost the front border of your armpit. That would be a nice way to think about pec major. That's all pec major. The other side, the outside of your armpit would be your lat, but the middle line border of the armpit, when you make those big definitions of moving the arms together like you would for plank, that's all pec major. So it moves your arm cross body, and it can roll your arm bone a little bit inward towards midline. So that's really important. I still have to talk about pec minor, but basically having a dysfunctionally tight chest can reduce the very small area that you want to keep open in the chest. So if the pec is too tight, which is a lot of what we experience when we get choked up doing something like the back bend, of course, but I'm thinking, where am I going? Bow, when we had our arms pulled behind us. Knowing that the pec acts on the arms, you might be able to slowly put together how having your arms behind you just puts it into a stretch, puts it into a stressed position. So if it was already tight to begin with, just in plain posture, just in plain sitting here, then if you challenge it into a stretch and ask all of these other things of your body, then you'll certainly feel that your pecs are tight. So let's place or use your right fingertips to touch onto your sternum, your breastbone. So you can just kind of do a little bit of drumming there. Sternum, breastbone. And then if you walk your hand, again, we'll keep using the left pec. Just pop your fingertips right to the middle of that left pec. And just one more time so that you can recall it. Float the arm to plank. And then move the arm sort of to the right or across center line. So that's, again, just to turbo remind you of what muscle that is. That's your pec major. So the arm has to move to really change that muscle. Now, using your right hand again to find your pec minor, it's sort of this sneaky, smaller pec muscle that's hidden underneath the pec major. So if you kind of clasp your shoulder, but then walk in towards what would be kind of like your shoulder crease, like, well, exactly where my spaghetti strap is here, you should feel like a pretty good bump there, a bony bump. And what you're feeling is actually a forward projection of your shoulder blade, a shoulder blade structure that's coming through the body and making its way through to poke through on the front end of you. Yes, the shoulder blade is a back body structure, but it happens to have this weird little finger-like forward pokey thing that very much affects the shoulder head. So once you find that, basically from that point down slightly, just kind of what I'm rubbing out on my body here, that's the spacing of your pec minor. And without moving your arm bone, maybe I'll dangle it beside me, if you just, it's called protraction, if you just push your shoulder forward or your shoulder blade forward, something that we would associate a little bit more with a slouched posture, that's the action of your pec minor. So you might squeeze your back to pull the shoulder blade back. So that would be called, the action is called retraction. And then protracting it forward, that comes from the pec minor. So if you can just drop your arms down. Some dysfunctions that we might see in posture that lead to a lot of difficulty with overhead reaching, a lot of tension in the chest when the arms are asked to go above the head. With something like pec major, the arm bones are a little bit closer to the body. And with something like pec minor being tight, the elbows might start to stick out. So the actual shoulder blades spread out and move forward in space, so you get this slouched posture, basically, which really shadows or causes you to lose some space in the front of the shoulder. So if this is sort of where your body is with the arms down beside you, as soon as you go to reach higher up, it's more and more difficult to maintain the opening in the front of the chest. Structures, especially structures like that, it's your coracoid process, the front of the scapula that holds onto the pec minor, especially as the arms go up, that can almost have this log jam with the arm bones. So that's part of like the tingly, funky stuff that you feel when your arms go over your head, is a bit of a log jam of structures and bones hitting up against one another and possibly compromising circulation or nervous system messages. So it could be your bony structures and or your muscles getting in the way of the movement of blood or the electricity of nerves. Alright, so to stretch your pec major, the big pec, you have to think about the action of it. So the action of the muscle is stuff like plank pose, so it brings the arms forward and brings them in. So the arms have to go out and back in order to get an effect. Let's try to find that, try to make that effect just with the air and with our hands. So I'll get you to raise your right hand up into the air. And I'll get you to place your whole handprint, the heel of your hand, the palm of your hand, on your sternum, on your breastbone. And then I'll have you pull your tissue, so keeping your hand stuck to your skin, pull your tissue to your right. So your right hand is on your chest, and you're pulling your skin, whatever you can, ever so slightly to your right. Now we're going to stretch the left pec. Drop the left arm down beside you and have your palm of that left straight arm facing the screen, facing me. Alright, your right handprint is on your chest and you're pulling your skin ever so slightly to the right. Now, with your left finger spread, let this left arm reach a little bit behind you. And then as you maintain the left arm behind you, pull your skin a little bit more over to your right. So you might get a little bit of something across your chest. Could be more at the center, at the breastbone level, or it could be more at the shoulder, the circle of the shoulder head. So the pecs are very large muscles, and they have 3 different fibers. They have lower fibers, like a fan over the chest, sideways fibers that go horizontally, and upwards or upper fibers that go in the collarbone direction. So right now we are stretching a little bit of the lower fibers. Yes. Bring your arm up to, the same arm up to a capital T shape. The right handprint that's on your chest, keep pulling it a little bit to the skin a little bit to the right. And then let the left arm go a little bit behind you. I start to get a bit of a bicep stretch as well, and even a little bit of nervy stuff just doing that. So this would be a stretch of the middle fibers of your pec major. Then you can pop up to capital Y and lean the arm a little bit back. And that would be a stretch of the upper fibers, more of the collarbone fibers of this left pec major. And then slowly come back down. We'll do that on the other side in a moment. So In physiotherapy especially, they call these types of exercises TAY, T-A-Y, so T-A-Y, but traditionally TAY is just easier to remember, but we practice it A-T-Y. But remember TAY, thinking of those 3 different fibers, large muscle, so just doing cactus arms or just bringing your arms out to a T is simply not enough to cover the basis of a large pec muscle. So you might start to see we are not back bending yet, so we're not actually moving the spine forward, we are just moving the arm back. But you might start to see how the different demands, the different variations of back bends, especially things like locust, where we have the freedom to change the arm position, how that might affect different levels of the chest. Or you might feel more restricted in one pose or another based on the angle of the arms. So moving on, hold your left hand up. So moving on to the other side, continuing to drive in this point of the pec major and how tight it can become. Place your palm print, your left palm print directly on the center of your chest. Make an impression, so really firm your hand in. You can pull a little bit down to the floor, but mostly drag your tissue to your left. So your left hand is the puller and it's pulling in the direction of the left. Your right arm will be what we stretch, so straighten out your elbow and spread your fingers. And then feel, we're looking for a two-way street. We could get a stretch without having the palm pinned to the sternum, the middle of the chest. But it's better, it's more interesting if we have two ends of the stretch. So you're pulling your skin a little bit left, your right arm just stretches a little bit behind you. You can relax some of that backward motion of the arm, take it up to a capital T. V, hand that's still stationed on your chest, pull slightly left. At the same time, the arm pulls back behind you. And again, the capital T, those middle fibers of the pec, that's usually more impactful. That's usually where you feel more. There's more fibers involved there, but also it just tends to be a place that gets a greater rise out of the body. And then float the arm back. And then go up to the Y shape. And just treat it like that two-way street. Your central hand is pulling the skin down and left as your arm plays its way a little bit back behind you. So you're doing self-fascial work, self-connective tissue work. And then slowly bring that arm down. If you take a quick look at your book, there's a couple images of your pec major, page, again, 144. So the bigger muscle is the major, smaller one is the minor. But you can see that white central border of the pec. You're getting a view, on page 144, you're getting a view of the right-sided pec. The white stuff in the center is just showing like the divider between left and right pec, but it's also telling you or informing you that there's quite a bit of connective tissue there. Anytime any of the illustrations show white, that's connective tissue, and synonym for connective tissue is fascia. So that's why we pulled on the center of our chest while we simultaneously moved our arm bone. So if you have a quick look at that right pec major on page 144, that might sort of help sum things up for you. The central connective tissue right on the sternum, and then that thin little second connection out on the humerus, out on the upper arm bone. Okay, so from there, I'll show you just a quick neck stretch that'll also help with some of the issues that came up in the wheel video. Use two hands now and just place them again on that sternum. Your thumbs will point up. And then knowing that this central area of the body, this breastbone, is rich in connective tissue, which is fascia, use the two heavy handprints to pull that fascia down towards your hips or down towards your feet. And on skin it would be better. One thing that I wanted to say at the beginning of this video is perhaps wear a tank top as I am. So pulling your tissue down, really, really calmly, chin up. trying not to wrinkle the back of the neck. So a real vertical star gaze, a little bit like upward dog, and just stay there for a few seconds. And then slowly tuck the chin, put the head back onto the body. And then the single-sided experience of that is a little bit more interesting. So lift your right hand and place it just under your left collarbone. And knowing a little bit more about your front body anatomy, you're really hanging right onto that left pec. The shape of your handprint almost follows or mocks that pec major. Pull your skin down towards the floor. Side bend your neck to your right, and remember that I'm not mirroring. And then do that star gaze, so do not twist, but just chin up. And again, it's that two-way pull. Your hand is facilitating the pec major tissue down towards the floor, the connective tissue down towards the floor. And your specific angle of your chin up is just sending a bit of length, a bit of that tight leather over bone in terms of the front neck muscles. I won't teach you these deeply, but you're stretching your anterior scalenes right now, so your front scalenes. Sort of a continuous structure with the pecs. And give your chin a little bit of a tuck. And put your head back onto your body. Relax your right arm down. And then simply on the other side. So your left hand comes up, can go below your right collarbone. Pull your skin down towards the floor. Then side bend your neck to your left with a little bit of a chin up, a little bit of a star gaze. Getting that two-way stretch. So if anything, even if you find some of these new terms hard to catch on to, just doing these little movements will show you where you are tight. Maybe it's higher in the pec, lower in the pec. Maybe the big thing that's standing out to you are these few neck stretches. And tuck your chin. And then place your head back up and over your body. So a couple of chest stretches, a couple of neck stretches, so a bit of self-discovery for you, seeing what's tight in each part of your chest, each part of your neck. Knowing that the pec minor has the smaller, deeper, more stubborn pec, knowing that it has more of an effect on the shoulder blade, we want to use some propping so that we can move the spine forward so that the shoulder blades can drop backwards. So let's do that now. Find your foam roller or your rolled mat. And once you've found that prop, sit with it behind you, the length of your spine. And then I want your knees to be bent, slowly lay down onto your prop, and I want your head to be supported. So I don't want your low back to feel funny in any way. So head supported. And let's just go back to that whole T-A-Y thing. So your arms are dropped a little bit below you. Your prop is forcing your spine to be a little bit more forward in the body. Your palms facing up. And just flip your palms down. With straight elbows, simply do that a few times. And then palms facing the ceiling, take the arms up to capital T. With the elbows straight, just roll the palms down and up a few times. And then with the palms facing the ceiling, slide into your final effect, your capital Y. And you'll feel the stretch change in different parts and jump to different parts of the chest, and then flip the palms up and down. So you're just getting a bit of a floss. The hand flip moves the two forearm bones, which just gives a unique pull on the upper arm bone, which is attached to the pec major. So it's kind of a more is more situation. Keeping the palms facing up, slide down to capital A. So this would be your snow angel. And slide up to T, to Y. Find that a few times. And then just relax your arms down. Roll to one side, maybe roll towards me. And pop up. So that floor exercise with your spine lifted up is just more of a therapeutic way to open your chest. Back bends, I want you to keep doing them and keep exploring them, but they are just a much more of a forceful, difficult, stressful way to open your chest. So in the case that some of them give you that choking feeling, a couple of us said it for bow especially, it's just such a dynamic pose. You might need this extra homework of working with the prop, sending your spine forward as your arms fall backwards. You can snow angel, I believe I did it actually in the flow standing at the end, but you can do these simple but effective arm ranges of motion just against the air, seated or in mountain pose. And then I will say I wasn't planning on adding this to the video, so it's going to be a little bit rough, but I actually, more than anything, like to use the wall for snow angels. Let me show you. If you have access to a wall, go with me. I'll take the old painting down. Back yourself into a wall. Heels a little bit off of it so that you can tuck your butt and find mountain pose. So your head is on the wall, your butt is on the wall, or you're just remembering this if you don't have access to a wall. And then just do those same slides, those same snow angels. Stay down in the A-frame shape. For just practicality, pop your hands down onto the wall and then stay quite close to it, but pop your butt and your head off of the wall. This will look a little bit like what we do in locust pose. Now just use the wall as something to reach for. So send your fingers back, fingernails, your palms are facing the screen, facing front, and then draw that snow angel again. That'll be quite a bit harder, or you'll feel your chest becoming more sensitive. And if you're really taking this therapy seriously and gradually, you might take it upon yourself to just half a step or full step forward and just see what you can do. That might, that's hard. That might be a measurement for you, just seeing how much you can walk away from the wall and still comfortably open the chest. All right, just find mountain pose. So I will leave you with that for today. There's so many interesting things that you can do to open your chest and increase your shoulder range of motion. But the big thing, the big take home is that snow angel, that range of motion up to capital Y. Our film earlier with wheel kind of asked you to just do a lot more. Then it asks you to go into more of an extreme external rotation with your arms quite a bit closer to your head. So why not, if that was really hard for you, try to keep your chest open in a different exploration, in the snow angel, and something a little bit less severe, and just build yourself up. So that was the idea behind this. I hope that you learned a little something, and don't forget to continuously look at page 144 and 145 of your green book so that you can continue to visualize your chest muscles and the effect that they might have on your general posture, and then of course your back bends. Thanks.